Proxies allow you to overwrite the default behavior for many of an object's default operations. And what I mean by that is an object, you can get things, you can set things, you can check if it has an item, you can delete a property. And there's a whole bunch of methods that come along with a default object. Now, what if you wanted to override these? We've looked previously at custom setters and getters, which are actually not part of ES6. But what if you wanted to overwrite absolutely everything? Or what if you wanted to overwrite some of the other properties in an object? And that's what proxies do. They allow you to overwrite the default behavior of an operation on an object. So to explain that, let's take a look here. Let's say we have a person that is equal to, let's say name is Wes and age is 100. Now, when I get the name, let's say I wanted to return something other than Wes. What we can do is create a proxy for that object. So it would say const person proxy equals new proxy. Now, a proxy takes two things. First, it takes a target, which is what object would you like to proxy. So we'll give it the person. And then the second is something called a handler. And then the handler is where you specify all of the operations which you wish to rewrite. So that is an object inside of there. And I'm going to bring you over to the MDN docs for proxy right here. When you want to overwrite one of the default operation, those things are called traps. And essentially what it does is it sits between you and the object. So if I was to say person proxy dot name equals Wesley, what I'm doing there is I'm setting the property of name on this person proxy here. So what I want to do is trap that from happening. I sort of want to like go in the middle and implement my own logic for when I want to set it. And here is all the methods that you can actually trap each other. So this thing is called a handler, and each thing inside of the handler is called a trap. Now, I can trap a get, a set, a delete, and apply a construct. And there's a whole bunch of them that we can go through and you can look through here. But let's do the very basics of a dot get. So in here, what I'm going to do is define a get, and this is just a regular object with methods on it. So I can use our shorthand here. And when you get it, you get the target and you get the name that the person is requesting. And from that, we can just do console log. Someone is asking for target and name. So let's take a look at what that does here. So person proxy, that's you can think of this just as a regular old object. And then I call dot name on it. And we see someone is asking for, it gives me the entire object as well as the name or the key. Sometimes people will call it of it. So what could we do there? Well, we could just return nah, and maybe some fun emojis. Let's see what we got here. Germany. And now when I ask for person proxy.name, we get nah back, right? So we've sort of like jumped in the middle of that get and hijacked it and returned our own. And obviously that's not what you want to do, but what you can modify, you can check if things are meeting your standards, or you can do something like return target name. That would just bring us what we're actually looking for. Let's take this console log out, Wesley, but you could do something like .to uppercase, assuming that you're always going to have a string, and then I return it. It always returns me uppercase. So that's really helpful for a variety of reasons. We're going to look at a whole bunch of examples, but let's quickly do another example of when you might want to use another trap. Let's say a set. So something that might happen where you are setting and there's a whole bunch of white space in the string that you're setting. So you have a target and a name, and then we could say if, and then we also get past a value that the person is setting it. So if the value, type of value is equal to a string, then what we want to do is say target name equals value.trim. So now if I go to this person proxy and I try to set something new, like cool equals, oh yeah, and a whole bunch of white space in there, it shows us that. But if we take take a look at our person proxy, you'll see that we now have cool is, oh yeah, it's been trimmed as we then brought it in. And we can also store like dot to uppercase, and then maybe we can concatenate on some scissors because it was trimmed. So just do something silly like that. Person proxy dot Wes equals I love Wes. Lots of space on the end there. Now, if we take a look at person proxy dot Wes, it should give us trimmed, uppercased, and tacked on with an actual scissors. So again, with a proxy, you can sort of jump in between and overwrite the default operations. You notice that I'm not using any special methods. I'm not using any special functions here to set those things. I'm simply just using the object as I normally would. And then the custom logic, which is our handler, and the traps will sort of take over. If you do not specify one of these traps that we have here, obviously there's a whole bunch of them, the default for the object will take over.